To introduce one more speaker, and then open it up to citizens for the remainder of the time. We're here till 4, and that's Kevin J. Smith from the Woodstock Land Conservancy.
Hi. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, those of you who have been able to stay around for the whole thing. I am so inspired. This has been a difficult time for all of us in the environmental community, not to mention all the other issues. By the way, Jennifer spoke about the memorializing resolution before the county legislature. It's resolution number 32 for those of you who are interested, and you can find that on the county website. This has been a tough time, and it's going to get a lot harder before it gets easier. What will make it easier is all of us working together. This pipeline proposal is a perfect example of this. My organization is a land trust. In general, we kind of stay out of the political fray as a rule, or we used to, but we found that that's really not possible anymore. And a couple of things have brought this home to us. One is the imminent threat of climate change. So I will say it here. This is a threat to our civilization. It's a threat to our nation. Our democracy, our economic institutions, our social institutions will not be able to withstand the disruption and the costs associated with climate change to our peoples and to our biosphere. It's as simple as that. I say that to you today because proposals like this are now happening in a brand new context. What we are seeing on the federal level is going to be right out of the book, the playbook of Big Tobacco. You are going to start to see some very careful strategic repositioning where the powers that be will say, well, we think climate change probably is real, and there probably is some human component to it. But we don't really know how much. And we think it's probably overestimated. And we need to do a lot more study. And only then should we be taking any measures that would impact our economy, jobs, making things work in our local communities. This is what's coming. So we have to be aware here that this proposal is a legacy proposal. This could be something that puts infrastructure in place for 50 or 100 years. As was pointed out earlier, completely offset New York State's own targets for greenhouse gas emission reductions. So that's number one. Number two, there is a pumping station proposed associated with this project in the town of Ulster, right at the base of Sauk Hill Road, at the back of the Heritage Energy property, for those of you who know that area. In that spot, the pipeline will come down off of what's known as Hallahan Hill. It will pass under Sauk Hill Road. It will go under the Sauk Hill Creek, which is a major tributary to the lower Esopus, an impaired waterway. Federally designated an impaired waterway. It will then turn west and travel right on the banks in the floodplain, what looks to me, from what I can see in the environmental impact statement, in the floodway itself of the creek to this proposed pumping station. There is a trailer park directly across the Sauk Hill Creek. From the very site of the pump station is a trailer park. So when we talk about environmental justice, here we are, right there. And here's somebody saying that that trailer park has been flooded out several times. It's my understanding that the Heritage Energy property has been flooded out several times as well. All of this is just upstream, as I said, from the confluence of the Sauk Hill with the lower Esopus, which is something of a delta. It's where The Sawkill comes out of the mountains and the lower Esopus wins its way out of the Rondout Valley, and they meet, and there's a lot of low land there. And what's also there, just on the other side of the lower Esopus, are the town of Ulster's wellheads. So these are the kinds of things that I would encourage all of you to get informed about and to reach out to your local municipal officials if you live in these communities or work in these communities, and to engage people with these organizations that are also, some of these organizations have staff that are working on drafting comments and doing analyses. The last thing I'll say about collaborating is one of the first lessons and the biggest lessons we learned with the Niagara bottling proposal of a couple of years ago. Look what happened with that. But I'll tell you, it didn't look like that. What we ended up with the city of Kingston passing a change to their law by referendum to ensure that the Common Council would have a seat at the table for any future sales of water from Cooper Lake outside the boundaries of the city of Kingston. That would never have happened. We couldn't even have conceived of that at the beginning. Why? Because these things come up and they're proposed as limited actions. They segment these proposals. They do not want us to consider, they do not want whoever the lead agency is to consider the whole scope of the impacts from beginning to end. And it is our job to make sure that that is exactly what does happen. Don't let them divide us by class. Don't let them divide us by community. Don't let them divide us by economic sector, environment versus business. You get the picture. That's how we won on Niagara. It's not what we're against, it's what we're for. Let's get to it. Thank you.